for essential workers, especially those in the food industry. Biden taking part in a virtual town hall with the League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, last hour. The former vice president says meatpacking plants are among the most dangerous environments right now and that workers deserve more pay and more protection.
They designate them as essential workers, then treat them as disposable. It's quite frankly inhumane and downright immoral because these workers are essential to our society, not just in times of crisis, but always.
CNN's Arlette Saenz joins me now. Arlette, what specifically is the vice president saying about the need to protect these workers?
Well, Joe Biden talked about these measures that he wants to see taken for essential workers, essentially saying that the conditions many of them are facing, comparing that to a war zone. He specifically cited nursing homes and meatpacking plants as being some of the places with the most dangerous conditions right now for essential workers. And he ran through a number of steps that he would like to see. He would like to see extra premium pay for essential workers, as well as complete access to PPE and also access to rapid results testing. He also wants there to be stricter OSHA enforcement standards, as well as paid sick leave for these workers. And take a listen to a bit of the message he had for President Trump during this town hall.
I want Donald Trump to look one of these essential workers in the eye, the meat packers, delivery drivers, healthcare workers, grocery store clerks, and tell them they don't deserve a livable wage, paid sick leave.
Now, as Biden also listened to some of the stories and concerns from people in this town hall, he tried to connect on that personal level, saying that he understands the concern and worries that people might have about their own families in the coronavirus, saying that he understands what it is to have concern for people like that, given his own past history with his family's health. But these are all contrasts that Biden has tried to make with the president over the past few weeks, both on the empathy scale and on policy, as we are now 6 months out from the election. John.
6 months out. Arlette Saenz, appreciate the reporting on the former Vice President's Day. Thank you very much. The League of United Latin American Citizens is also launching what it calls Meatless May Mondays, calling on people to not consume or purchase any meat products once a week. It's part of their push for more protections for those workers in the meat processing facilities. Joining me now is Domingo Garcia, the president of LULAC. Sir, thank you so much for being with us today. You're calling for people to essentially stage a protest. Don't eat meat, don't buy meat once a week, just as a symbolic gesture to prove you stand with these workers. I want you to listen to the President of the United States last night. He signed an executive order telling these companies to keep these plants open. Let's listen first. I want to ask if you agree with this take.
The companies really wanted it, and the employees have to want to work. Now, if they don't want to work, that's one thing, but they are working, and they need the money, and the companies are doing, they're great companies. I think it's all working out.
Is it all working out? Are these great companies in your view?
Well, tell that to the family of Saul Sanchez, a 78-year-old worker who died, last week, and his family working in a plant that was not giving him the adequate protections. Or Hugo Dominguez, who died in Dallas, Texas, 2 days ago at a sausage plant. They are not being given adequate protections. In order to protect America's food supply, we got to protect America's food workers. And we can't just send them into harm's way. If we're going to treat them as frontline workers, essential workers, we need to give them those protections. And we're trying to negotiate with the plants, but President Trump is not being helpful when he says, we're going to send you in there, Juan Jose, and by the way, you got to risk your life by dying. Over 20 workers have died in the last week or so. Over 5,000 have tested positive in plants all over the country.
And we can put a map up. We've been going through this story for the last couple of weeks, and it's almost everywhere you look. If you look at a map of where these factories are that have either been shut down or have had COVID outbreaks in them, responsible for big spikes in cases, you see there it's all over Middle America and much around other places in America. And here's one of the reasons that it's such a concern to LULAC is that these meat and poultry processing plant workers, 35% of them are Hispanics, 20% of them African Americans. As you make the case here, what is the feedback you're getting from the workers? You say protective gear. What else?
They need to slow down what's called at the kill factory, where these are, and then there's an assembly line, and the workers are usually right next to each other, and that's what's causing one of the most dangerous places in America today. is to be in a nursing home or a meatpacking plant. And that's because of the speed of that line of produce or meat or pork or chicken that is being processed. Those need to be slowed down. You need to put plexiglass to do social distancing for the workers. And the most important part, you need to test every worker. And if a worker tests positive, send him or she home and make sure that they get sick pay. A lot of these workers do not get sick pay right now if they take time off from work. And that way you can continue the production in a safe manner. And at the same time, those workers that are sick are put into quarantine and their families are protected. And right now, that's not happening. And it's having tragic consequences right now with over 20 deaths just in the last week.
Well, when you say that's not happening right now, what is your, obviously you don't think the companies are acting quickly enough, whether it's the personal protective gear, whether it's putting in plexiglass and other protections, whether it's ramping up testing at these plants. Are there any governors who you would look at the map and say this governor's jumped up and proven that he or she wants to help, others maybe not so much?
Well, I'll tell you what, one of the most immoral acts any president of the United States has ever done is what Donald Trump did last week when he put down all the meatpacking plants under the, I believe it's the War Production Act, saying they have to remain open. We had put pressure, for example, at a plant in Colorado. The governor and the local health director had closed down the plant. Now those governors, those county health directors in Waterloo, Iowa, or in Moore County, Texas, which have the largest number of COVID-19 increases. In Iowa, it's Waterloo, Iowa. In Texas, it's Cactus, Texas, where the meatpacking plants are, and those are spreading in dramatically huge fashion in those neighborhoods and communities. And yet President Trump says they remain open and the governor and the local county health officials can't do anything about it. And that's just one of the most immoral, un-Christian, un-American acts by any president in the history of the United States, so maybe the internment of the Japanese in World War II.
Well, we will continue to follow this story. Domingo Garcia, very much appreciate your time and your insights today and your concern for these workers. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.